Hey Ghost Ghouls and Non-Binary Fools, what's up? So, today I wanted to talk about a different story. I don't exactly know if I have a name for it, but I can sort of explain to you the premise. It's about this woman who shows up on a different side. You follow her throughout as she attempts to complete a quest while also trying to run from her quest, delaying it as much as possible as she tries to figure out how to even start with it, right? A woman initially coming from a place of respect and honesty and power. If you're not strong enough, you're not enough. You know? And suddenly she's thrust into a world of politicians and liars where the wealth have it all and have convinced others that if you don't have it, you're just not it. You just don't have the power. And I figured she'd make an excellent intro to this world, as I can take you, the readers, watchers, you, my listeners, my followers, along through it. Like you would. A question of, what's this and how does this work? You know? When I imagine the world of horns, I imagine that it's sort of like, not so much the Victorian era, but something sort of before it. I'll have to do more research into what it's called, but essentially it's during the time where most women aren't educated. The poor don't have the money to be educated. Your grades, if you are educated, are posted within the newspaper, so there's no hiding from it or hiding from it. And the only real person with any sort of power are just rich men. Men of politicians, men who make money doing business that often is rather shady and slimy, since they themselves aren't even bothering to try to get their hands dirty. And I imagine, since our protagonist, a woman named Earla, is suddenly thrusted into this world, she's sort of stumbling to figure it out. However, thankfully she has a bit of help from a young girl named Moira, who begs her father to hire Earla because she is big and she is strong, and therefore she can be a bodyguard and take Moira out to show her off or make her father look better. It's the way she poses it. As her father, the mayor, essentially a mayor, sort of, a politician himself, I imagine that the governmental system sort of follows ours, but maybe something a little nicer and not so crazy. But then again, that's just a wish. And anyways, I imagine that with the two of them, we sort of have a guide, an explanation, a way to world build without it being so heavily within exposition. Because that was something I always couldn't get into. If you take so much time to explain to me everything and you just don't show me things, show me the culture, show me the politics, you know? Show me this, but explain some of this and that, you know? That's sort of the reason why I couldn't get into things like Star Wars or Star Trek or most sci-fi stuff, because they also don't have my sort of taste in entertainment. So I guess I wanted this as like something as an intro for folks like me who want to get into it, who want to at least try to get into it, and it's just not working. And I imagine that with this, I can sprinkle in backstory and story and sort of like get it to all blend in a way that makes sense and isn't so long and boring. So, we'll do a quick dive on Earla and Moira, at least in the beginning parts, until I can figure out the rest, right? So, Earla comes from a world that has wings, that you have to respect each other and respect yourself, but you also need to be strong and you need to be able to fight. A world where lying is almost like asking yourself to just be shunned and shamed. There's no room for lies in battle. Trickery, while useful, is frowned upon. Think of it like a duel. Count to 10, turn around, hope it works out. And in her world, she's finally fought to the top. She was queen, but she still had something to do. She had a quest that she was told of. She had to do it. Find the 3 wells and put an end to it all. She didn't exactly understand what that meant, but she took her and her closest friends and she left for the center, for the 3rd one, for the 3rd well. And in doing so, got all but herself massacred. And this is the start of when she crosses over into the world of horns, a place where femininity, expectations, lies, trickery, all these things, and this almost culture of disrespect, almost, the way you're shunned and sped upon. That's what she's flying into, and I think it would freak her out that her wings are gone. Makes her antsy and nervous. Something she's so used to is gone. And I feel like this would also sort of affect the way that she can walk and run and go through things, since, you know, if you have wings, I can't imagine you're going to spend a ton of time on the ground. Unless, of course, you decide to do a bit of a more grounded attack. But I think I'm going to figure something out later, so that way it doesn't have to be too funky when I try to figure out the way she's existing. Now, she's a big, tall, muscular woman. Gorgeous. Anyways, this is where she meets Moira. She's accidentally flown into her backyard. Moira, who isn't really sure how to feel about the culture at hand, since she's not a part of... She's higher classed. She's got a mayor for her dad. So a lot of her life is spent prepping for luxury, prepping for parties and balls, social meetings. And because she is essentially forbidden to leave the house, because, well, let's be real, I can't imagine a politician like her father would be anything good. So that when Earla shows up and Moira takes her and she begs her father to use her as a bodyguard. He finds this the perfect opportunity to use his daughter in his campaigns. And it's a price she's willing to pay, since it's one she already knows and already pays. And so with this, Moira finally has a stable job, a place to be. The kindness of a child saves her. It brings her a bit of hope after everything she's been through. And Moira, as her mother and father go about playing roles, trying to get votes, trying to further themselves within a society that favors power and lies over respect and care, I find that they would most likely be gone, dragging her along until she's finally too old to, having to instead stay in and prep herself for her next step of a debutante, essentially. And so when Moira goes out and she hears the commotion in her backyard, as she finds this big, strong woman who can barely keep her head up because her horns are so new to her, she acts as if a newborn or an adolescent, having to find a way to keep their head up even when it's difficult. I imagine once she finally has her, Moira does what she knows best. She uses Earla. She lies to her family, something that Earla is a bit questionable with. And then Moira says to her, "You are to take me places, you are to keep me safe. This is all you need to do to stay here." Like she has power. She doesn't even know this woman, but she's a ticket out at the house. A ticket for exploration, to the library, to universities, to places of knowledge. And when Earla finally has to start her quest and start it right this time, she has to take Moira with her. Moira, who is finally excited to just travel, even if it comes at the cost of having to advertise her father. She's excited to go find more knowledge and more people. And much like the Hungarian king of folk tales, one that you'll find, she dresses up like the poor, hiding herself, disguising herself. Even if she's lacking some of the quality marks, such as rougher hands, exhausted looks, woven or shortened hair, even if she's missing some of the qualifications that would make her at least more acceptable within it, she does pass enough. And seeing that she has a giant bodyguard with her, it's not particularly appealing to mess with her. So this gives her more access to information, to folk tales, to stories and knowledge that she didn't have before. Even if it does come with more social uppings, more balls, more parties and tea and talk. It's a price to pay for something that she wants so badly. And I'm just not sure how to display that sort of, I don't know if dichotomy is the right word. Serendipity isn't either, but I want Moira and Earla to grow closer upon it, as Earla is finally gets enough of her mind, gets out of the distant shell shock. I guess what it would be is shell shock. The dissociation, the terror, the noises that make her want to duck and cover. Things that just don't make sense. There shouldn't be sounds there are. And it freaks her out. It freaks her out a lot. Coming from just seeing all her friends be massacred by her stubbornness, by her pride. I imagine that she's hesitant to befriend a child, and to more so care for this child as if her own. And I think that since Earla is around all the time with no expectations, making jokes, cracking fun the ways she wished that she could, I think that Moira finds her like a parental figure. Someone to rely upon, to need, as Moira cares for her and bathes her and treats her like a child, without expectation of anything in return. I imagine with that she would find a sense of security. I think that this Earla is sort of lulled into understanding, almost, or care, as she remembers, yes, this may be her employer, but this is a child, and this child is a child. Treat children like children. And I imagine from there, sort of, at some point, as Moira's expressing almost terror and disgust at the fact that she has to go about and dance with boys, that that Earla sort of looks at her and goes, "This is a baby. This is my baby," you know? I can't imagine you work with kids and they just can't, like, I may not care for kids the same others would, but the delight that children bring, and they are so excited to see you, is what I imagine the feeling Earla has is, where she's like, this is a child. You are my child, and as long as you are with me, you are the most important person around, and I would do anything for you. Not quite devotion in that sense, but sort of like a, you seem to want this, it causes you no harm. If you are wrong, you are wrong, and I will tell you so. A way a parent is, or should be, anyways. I imagine that that as Earla and Moira go through the year, through the seasons, right? It's almost like an exchange of information. Something that Moira desperately craves, information. I imagine that when, this is sort of the whole reason I started this video, the ball of the lost comes around. I imagine that this is sort of something that Earla doesn't understand. she doesn't understand the name or the title, and this is where we sort of get this you can teach me and I can teach you sort of thing. So she's sort of, and I can't decide what the Ball of the Lost is. I imagine that it's almost like it's like, well, it was not it's sort of like carnival, sort of like carnival or Mardi Gras or just a moment to indulge in everything, to break all the social standings and rules, where everyone dresses up, masked, and they go around and they speak with each other, exchange information and ideas with each other. But they keep moving and going and learning, making friends for just a night. Sort of like every barrier is down and it's okay to do as you please. And I imagine this lasts a week, maybe 12 days, 9 days. And the overall thing is the carnival. They just call it a carnival. Happens once a year. But the major event is the Ball of the Lost. Everyone and anything they can scrunch up, dancing together, laughing together, doing things for just a night that they could never do again until the next year comes around. I think that it would have almost like the aesthetic of a carnival with the craziness of Mardi Gras. Anyways, I don't know when I want this to take place. I feel like spring would make sense. The start of spring, as everything's in bloom, so are you, you know? But I feel like it would make more sense for the winter. A way to cheer yourself up as the cold sets in. And then afterwards, have the debutante balls, where you dress up, you go, you party, you make yourself look as available and attractive as possible. But tell me what you think, because I'm not sure how to set up the seasons or the year, and I also have to figure out their religions and myths and how the Great War kind of swirled everything and made it a mess. So, good night, good morning, good afternoon, and goodbye. I'll see you next time. Thank you.